Hey guys, so welcome back to the channel. I have an interesting video this time. It's going to be a lot of wire diagram and understanding some of the wire diagram with tracks, specifically for Audi and Volkswagen. This is actually a 2011 Golf TDI, and it's a diesel injection vehicle. This is from Anthony Stavinoha. I hope I'm saying your last name correctly. But well, so he's been having issues with the vehicle that has a glow plug light flashing all the time. He cannot get rid of the faults and so on. So I've been trying to help him just by, trying to help somebody, let's say, with no charge or anything, over the phone, sending the wire diagrams and everything. And he sent me videos and everything. But he said, Anthony, I think the best is for you to send me the computer and the glow plug module, which just looks like a relay. You will see that in a second. And me to test it here to see if actually the problem is in the computer. I asked him if he can read the firmware reference that goes over to the glow plugs on this vehicle. Let me just show you. These are the glow plugs, right? So it looks like normal glow plugs. They're not. This actually is a glow plug and a pressure sensor built in. So this connector is a very special connector from them. I don't know what they do. Things like this, realistically. Makes a pressure sensor inside a glow plug. And the problem is, this is a very unique connection. You cannot even, at least not here, test anything. I tell them, can you remove the computer, at least get it out of where it's located, so you can do the test in the computer, because these are very, very hard to do there. And I'm going to show you that again in a second. So yeah, he sent the computer because he said, yeah, I cannot get rid of the light. I cannot get rid of the fault code. And I don't know what else to do. I'm like, okay, well, let me help you. All right, so this is the computer connected. I know it's a little off the side, but you can see the relay glow plug control module by VW and Audi numbers. This is J179, and those are the glow plugs again that I was showing you in there. Let me just take it again so you can see closely in here. Kind of like the connection. It looks almost like a coaxial connector, but it's actually 4 connections inside. Again, we're going to go into the wire diagram in a second. Let me move you there. All right, this is the folder that I have created for him. I got a lot of information in here, but I want to show you, well, first, let me show you the connections. I kind of like put everything into one place of what I'm testing. So this computer has 2 connectors, a T94 and a T60, 94 pins, 60 pins, right? So in the T94, we have most of the signals, as I put in here. Powers are in pins, again, all in T94. 3, 5, and 6 is terminal 87. Again, that's a battery voltage through a relay. Terminal 15 is in pin 87. And terminal 30, which is a constant battery, on pin 92. I mark 2 different 5-volt references just to check inside the, the computer here. One is in the connector with 94 pins on pin 14, and then the other one is in pins, in the connector with 60 pins on pin 10. I check it with a multimeter that actually share inside the computer. So that's the same 5-volt reference. And the same goes with the sensor ground. Sensor ground actually is also interconnected with the grounds on the computer, which that's what they take the grounds also, right? So you can see in there, T94 66 is a ground, and the T60 51 is also a ground. For communication, this computer is a CAN bus or a CAN network computer. CAN high in pin 68 on the connector T94, and CAN low in pin 67. For my connection to the scanner BCI, I also am using a 60 ohm resistor in order to communicate, because most of these BWs and Audi don't have an internal CAN resistor on the computer. Then I have, I was going to mark the glow plugs, but they come out of the glow plug relay or module, let's say, because the J179, right? That look like a relay thing. It has 11 pins, even though it's missing 2. I also mark in here the pressure sensor signal, which is, again, on the computer. Let me just rephrase that. Yeah, in the computer on the pins T60, pins 1, let me see. Yeah, sensor for the cylinder 1, 2, 3, and 4, as it says in there, pin 21, pin 6, pin 23, and pin 22. I'm not sure how the signal looks, so I cannot reproduce the signal. I was saying that the glow plug sensors, because, you know, just out of like my head, since it's a pressure sensor, it might use a fiber reference, but it doesn't. It's actually a 3.3, and I'm going to show you that in a second. Again, those are in pin on the connector with 60 pins. On pin 24 is the voltage reference for the sensor, for the pressure sensors on the glow plugs, and then the ground comes on the connector with 60 pin on the pin 36. All those are just for me to understand, like, well, computer in Audi and Volkswagen is always going to be J63, and it says just right there, J179 is the glow plug control module, which is, again, that looks like a relay thing. I also mark, because in the diagrams, and we're going to see this probably, there are all going to be circles with like a A192, that's terminal 15A, again, an ignition. There is also another ignition in B163, and also on B267, 278, sorry, that all will be circled around. That's the way, just they're always in the tracks, and I mark, you know, what the computer is. So I'm trying to give you an overall idea of how that is in the computer, right? We're going to see the tracks in a second. Yes, also to show, this is me connected right now, like you can all will be seeing in the video, how I am connected to his computer. Yeah, you probably will be able to see it from here, but yeah, we can see how this says in here when I'm moving the hand. I'm going to go over to the black area, so you can see right under that 906 019, under the 019, it says EDC17 CP14. That is actually what this computer is. It's a EDC17. The rest is just a Bosch number and so on. But so what I have here, as I describe you with the connections on the paper, this is how I connected in here. What I have in here is on these wires right here, when I'm moving the hand, is a negative and a positive from my multimeter, which is the one I have, my bench multimeter. And this is connected to the glow plug pressure sensors. And it's reading 3.3 volts. That I consider good because I have nothing to go by. But realistically, for what I'm seeing in his computer, everything is working perfectly. Nothing is wrong with it. So the problem has to be in the car. Anthony, I'm sorry to spill the beans so quickly on the video, but I think that you need to see everything that I'm showing right now. And whoever has a problem with this same system, they need to check in the vehicle more throughout. You're going to have to pull that computer out so you can do the test through in the computer. And then on disconnect connectors from the computer, disconnect connectors are for the way that I do the test. Sorry guys, I'm always thinking on ahead of what I'm saying, and that's what I sometimes stutter. But so what I was trying to say is the way that I normally will perform a test like this is remove the connector from the computer. If I have a problem, right, I disconnect the computer and disconnect, let's say, the glow plug module. So which wires are coming from the computer to the glow plug module? In this case, 2 wires only are going to be in pins. I think it's, which I have it here. Let me just go back to that. I think it's in page, yeah, right here. So we can see, I just move it around. So we can see, let me just get a red box because otherwise you will not be able to see me there. I'm going to use this again as a mouse. So these are the 2 wires, and pin 9 and pin 10 that goes connect to the computer. The rest, 11 is a constant battery power. That's a terminal 30. We have a terminal 87 on pin 6. This is a battery voltage that is going to come through a relay, and I'm going to show you that in the next page. Pin 7 is a constant ground, and then 1, 2, 3, and 4 is the activation to the glow plug, not the sensors, the glow plug itself. So the glow plug is threaded into the cylinder head, so that is going to get a ground from the cylinder head, and this glow plug module, again, that little relay, is going to power on those glow plugs every time you switch the ignition. And I'm going to prove that in a second here. So let's follow this wire here so we can understand how this terminal 87 works. So if I go to the next page, we follow that in here. So this is the same connection, and it goes up to here through a fuse, right? So, and the power is not coming from here. This is actually, this power comes from here. You see where it says terminal 30 here? I'm going to get my red hand out of there, or red box, and it says 87 in the bottom. So we have a constant power on the tab rail, and then that terminal 30 will come terminal 87 because it's going through a relay, and then we'll supply power to that glow plug module. All right, but what controls this relay? So we got a constant power. We got terminal 87. When that relay closes, it's going to supply power to that glow plug module. And we have, this pin 85. Well, this pin 85, if we see here, is connected to a constant battery power. You see this wire right here. If I follow that blocks, it's going through a fuse, SB10, and it's connected directly to 30. 30 is constant battery, so that is always there. So the only thing that's then controlling this, it will be this pin 86. If we follow this pin 86, is this where, following tracks, wiring diagrams with tracks is a little confusing, but it's actually really good. I like it a lot. Is we have to follow this number. So right there it says 77. So we need to go to the track 77. Right now we are in tracks from 43. Again, on the bottom, that's where the numbers of the tracks are. So we are from 43 to 56. So to find this wire, because when you go to 77, then which wire is, right? So you need to go down in a straight line and then 49. Because now that box is going to show, and 77 is going to say 49 because it's coming from 49. So let's go over to 77 and we're going to look for that 49. So 77, again, we have it right here, 49, right? And that is in pin 69 on the connector with 94 pins. So I have in here, let me take you over to here and move this camera a little bit. Give me 1 second. All right, I got two test lights connected to the computer, as you will see. So one here, this one is actually that pin 69. So when the computer powers up, it has to send itself, right? So when you turn the ignition on, that computer should power up this itself, right, to the glow plug module, and this light should come on. So I'm providing power on this side of the test light, and the computer should provide a ground if it's working properly, which talking to Anthony, he said it was. At first it wasn't. Then the next thing we have here is this other test light that I have in here, right? So I am supplying a ground to here, and I have it connected to pin 80. Sorry, let me just, oh no, this actually is, this other test light that I have in here is actually one of the glow plugs. So I am connecting it on G1, which is, if we go back to the page where the glow plug module J179 is, I am connected to here. So I'm in J1 or pin 1 of the relay, and I'm connected in here. I put a test light. So again, test light to ground. Why? Because this glow plugs are connected into the block or threaded to the block that is a ground, and this module should provide the power when you turn the ignition on. All right, so let me just show you before I run the test. I'm going to show you also a few pictures that I have ready. Well, this is the connection again that we were looking at with the 3.3 volts coming or going out from the computer to that glow plug module. Sorry, to the glow plug pressure sensor. It's a lot of stuff that is going on his car. All right, so this is just me showing the connection in this case, right? So this is where the pins are connected. The next thing I also wanted to check is the 5-volt reference for the computer itself to make sure that nothing else is missing. Because I mean, we can have everything and then no 5-volt reference, that car will not run. But again, the car is running. With Anthony, it's not a problem, but not running is that light that he cannot get rid of. And he said he already replaced all the glow plugs and he replaced this module. I'm like, wow. So that sounds interesting. All right, so this is again just to me showing that we are in a different pin, and this is just a 5-volt reference for the computer sensors. This is me connected. I connected this computer. As soon as I power up and I have my Altel, which I'm going to show you again in a second because I have it right waiting for the test. Oh, you're not seeing that image. I'm talking in. I show the images. Yeah, sometimes I try to show too many things. So again, that's the connection. So the fiber reference. This is where that fiber reference is connected, and this is me now connected. This is his big number. And Anthony, if you are here, the last digits are 249533. These are the fault codes that were here when this computer came. We can see right here, the first two are the most important, or the first three. P064C sensor for internal pressure sensor of cylinder 1 electrical error. P064Z glow plug control module. Again, another P064C, but we have to read the rest, 00/01, blah, blah, blah. But again, glow plug control module upper limit exceeded. So these are faults that he cannot get rid of. See if I have any. Oh, these are just locations that I shared this with him. These are the original. This is from Erwin. You can buy a day if you want for your own vehicle when you're looking for locations and wire diagrams, and even for diagnostics. With Erwin, it's only $30 a day. And you can get this information where it will tell you where the J79 is located. And I purchased this for myself to help him. And this time he's getting a charge because this is a more in-depth diagnostics. I tried to help him for free as much as I could. This is definitely a more of extend diagnostics that I'm trying to help him out. At least he will know that his computer is good. More of that. This is a relay on the e-box. This is just to show him where this relay was located. Again, more information for his vehicle. And I think that's it. The rest are just wire diagrams, which we were already working with them. I now have also ready to show you some of the tests that he was doing on the vehicle. This is him. He sent me these videos because I tell him, it's like, hey, you have to check this fuse box to make sure, because he said, Mike, I don't have power on that terminal 87. I'm like, well, then it goes to the relay, but I have it on the top, but not on the control module. I mean, from that fuse or relay that we have in there to that control module, the only thing that is in there is the fuse box. He took it, like, because there was no power, he took this box apart, and when he plugged it back in, everything came back to work, at least power-wise. So as you can see, he's checking, continuity, or I think he's checking continuity from pin to pin with obviously the battery disconnected. That's one of the tests that he's doing. I think he's now showing me that the power is there, because that is a bridge that is also shown on the diagrams. And now all the wires, everything in there, as you can see, is lighting up. So he's been doing a good homework. I mean, it's not that he has not tried. I said, but this has got to be something else. So this is just him showing me. This is a little code reader that he has, where he had the P064 glow plug control module fold, and then again the other 64. This is the vehicle running. I think that he's showing me on the next one, I think, where the vehicle runs and he cannot get rid of. He erases the faults and it comes back immediately. Just watch the upper section on the left. See, it starts and runs, but it gets the code right away. And the light of the glow plug is blinking all the time. So I'm not sure if it's just because he has a problem on the scanner or something like that in this moment, but he was just trying to read the faults. But you can see the 06, he lost the center, but the glow plug, well, it wasn't blinking in there. Because, I mean, it's going to be blinking for a little bit, but he said he cannot get rid of that. And it's always happening. This is just me sharing, sharing information, telling what to test in the car. And he couldn't figure it out. So right now I have the scanner connected. Let's go over to trouble codes. I think this is a better view. Sometimes I just show small window. I wanted to show you this first. But right now, oh no, that's not on. So yeah, well, actually, that's actually a good test, because the computer is off. So let me move you here first. I'm going to dim the light. Oops, 1 second. Yeah, I just wanted to dim the light a little bit so you guys can see. Again, this is the control for that relay that will turn on the, the glow plug module. And this is one of the glow plugs. So I'm terminal 87. The computer is now powered up, and then ignition. I hope that you see that. So we have the ignition is on. So that relay is completely good. Computer is working good, and it's commanding that glow plug relay on. Because this is to control that. All right, so I'm going to, it's a little hard to do. You know, sorry about the spaghetti of wires in here. But sometimes, let me drink a little water. Better. Sometimes it's a little hard, you know, to cover all the vehicles, right? All right, so let's turn the ignition off one more time in power, right? Because one other thing that is very important to understand, the way the computer goes out to sleep, it might take up to 2 to 10 minutes, from 2 to 10 minutes to go down to sleep. All right, so terminal 87, let's watch this one. I'm going to cover the ignition because we already saw that one working. I want you to see the glow plug. Hope you saw that in there. I'm going to turn this off. Power completely the computer off, so it kind of drains the capacitors right quicker. All right, that's terminal 30. Let me move this a little bit of the way right there. Yeah, so that's terminal 30 switch. Terminal 87. And let me, so you guys can see that glow plug. Hopefully you can see the activation. And this is why, because the computer is not liking whatever resistance I am giving in there, right? Because it's expecting that, not a test light. But it is activating it. So let me go back to, let me escape from here. And let's go over to trouble codes. Now we are connected. Come on. Vehicle data, race car, device unable to communicate. Let me go over to live data. Thank you. That was my mother-in-law telling me that coffee's ready. All right, so let me, not sure why it says no communication. Let me read codes. Yeah, now it's connected. So we are definitely reading full codes. I'm going to erase the full codes. Yes, I am sure. And then let's read again. So fuel rail, we have no glow plug problem in here. The P064 is gone. So this is a little weird problem. Activation test. Let me see if I can go. Please turn off the engine. Yes. I wish we can do selective active test, an active test of the glow plugs. Let me see, glow plug control module. See what we have here. Press start and begin the test. Yeah, it's waiting for, this is actually not even the correct one because you see it says J271. So let's escape, that is not the correct test. Cool and fun. No. Not much in here. And we can run all these sequential tests, but that will take forever, and we're not even sure if it's even going to run it. I will have to really go by channel, because in live data, when you have like a, BCDS, and so you can go by channel, and I will have to read, because that's a problem when I like BCDS, and I have it here too. I can connect it With BCDS, it will tell you what channel. If you click in here and here, it's not going. It's just going to show you select the channel from 001 to 254. I'll have to go and look into what channels are the glow plugs to look at the activations. And that's just the way it goes. So let me turn the ignition off. And I'll be right back because I got my coffee on the table. So I'll be right back, guys. All right, now I lost the track exactly where we were before. But just so to confirm some of what Anthony was saying about, because he said even when he turned the ignition off, there's still power onto that circuit. So what I want you to show you all is that this relay will come on and that will power off, or power on, sorry, terminal 87. I have right here now terminal 87 being controlled by a switch because I don't have the relay in here, obviously, right? But when I turn the ignition on, this will come on. You see, now that's powering up terminal 87. When I power on terminal 87, that will power off the glow plug relay. And the glow plug, you see how the glow plug light up for a brief moment in there? So if I turn this off, the relay comes off immediately. So if this is not happening in your case, Anthony, we might have a problem in the car fuse box, which is at the end of the day, what I think that you might have all these problems. So let's go back to the screen because I want to show you that too. So if we go over to the next page, these are the powers and grounds, or the powers for the computer. So if we follow this 56, you see it says right here, connector T94, pins 3, 5, and 6. If we go back to my notes, we will see that those are terminal 87, right? So if we follow this 56 to or 59 and go back to 56, right? So we are looking for 59 is right here. So we can see that that is a power through a fuse, and it comes from this whole lead, that it comes from that same 87 that powers up that view, that this is the same branch that goes over to the J179. But if we see here, right, it's a joint connector in here, and it's powering up this SB22 fuse, which we can see what that goes if we go over to track 213 and 215. But if we follow this one, which is the most important for me, right? So we got a fuse right here, 59. We go 59 and we're in 56. That's where we were. So in the next page, 59, 56, that is a terminal 87 to provide that terminal 87 power to J623, which is J623 is the engine computer. And it's working perfectly, right? So again, if we go back to this capture, when I turn my ignition on, right? So this is me turning the ignition on right here. We wait, and that computer powers up that relay. Now that should close the contact and power up terminal 87, and then boom, the glow plug is power on. Again, it's not staying on for long. Why? Because I don't have the glow plugs connected. But based on everything that I find in here, and I have tests, Anthony, there is nothing wrong with your computer. There is nothing wrong with that glow plug module. Not sure, again, what is exactly the problem. I will have to look into another vehicle to make sure that that 3.3 voltage the computer is providing for those glow plugs is what is supposed to be there. But talking to Anthony, he told me that he didn't have any power on the glow plugs. Like that 5-volt reference of 3.3 down, we know it's a 3.3, that he was shaking because, let me take you over to a diagram where the glow plugs are. All right, so let me go there. Oops. So these are the glow plugs. These are 3 of the glow plugs. So if we follow here at the bottom, we have, again, a ground. All this bottom track in here is connected to ground. So whatever you connect in there is going to be ground. And if we follow this 3188, that will take us over to the J179, and this is guaranteed is going to be the glow plug 1. And we can see here, because if we see here Q10 and we read right here Q10, it says glow plug 1. So let's follow this track. So we're going to look for we're going to have to go back to track 31, and we're going to look for 88. So 31 and 88, that is exactly what I am. You see right here, that is the control for the glow plug 1, which is exactly what I had that test light. So everything is working. So let's go back to, again, the 88, which is where the glow plugs are. I was telling Anthony that we have two things in common on all the glow plugs. On connector T60 pin 24, that D128 is common to all the glow plugs. And if we read here, D128, it says just connection 26. Doesn't tell me if it's a power or a ground or what it is, but it's connected to the computer, right? So let's say, that is a reference voltage. Why I say it is a reference voltage? Well, it's a pressure sensor, right? If we see the other wire right here, 492, again, it's common into all the glow plugs. 492, it says sensor ground 2. All right, so we got a sensor ground and we got a sensor power. Those are the only two things that can be shared onto those 4 different sensors, right? Because there are 4 different pressure sensors. Again, they're built into the glow plug. We have, as you can see, if we see this diagram in the bottom and we see that little, broken line, kind of almost like a square waveform, that's a heater element. That is the glow plug. But they separated on the other side the G620. And if we read in here, G620 is a cylinder 1 internal pressure sensor. All right, so this is the pressure sensor. So the sensor can share the ground, can share the voltage reference, but cannot share the signal, right? Because it's one signal per sensor. So that means that this T6021 is that sensor 1 for the glow plug's internal pressure sensor on 1. This other one right here, T60 pin 6, should be the other signal for G621, which is cylinder 2 internal pressure sensor, right? So, and so on. Again, I'm trying to just explain everything that we have here. And I told Anthony, let's check in between here, because what I asked him to do, it was to check pin 24 and 36 and see if he had any voltage. And he said, Mike, no, I got nothing. But, okay, so here we do. And this is where I was doing these tests. Okay, I mean, in those 2 pins, let me bring this down. So I'm in pin 24 and pin 36, power and ground for those sensors. And we have 3.3 volts. So we do have a voltage. So either you got to short it on the harness or you were not connected properly, because the proof is in the pudding. The proof is on my test. Everything is working as it's supposed to. All right, guys, thank you so much for visiting the channel. I hope that you like all this content. I like to help as much as I can, because this is now for Anthony, but it's going to help anyone that has this same vehicle. If you want to do a test, this is the same test that you need to perform. And when I said about this is the same test that you need to perform, you can do exactly the same test on the car. The same thing that I'm doing right now. You can remove that wire that goes over to that relay and put a test light if you want to do it that way, right? Because that will light up the same way that I have it here. Well, that is good, right? If it lights up when you turn the ignition, that signal is perfect. You do the other thing, remove the glow plug and put a test light. If it lights up at least for a few seconds, it's good. The signal is there. Something else is your problem. Again, one more time, let me take you over to here. I'm going to turn all this off. And I'm going to just bring this down so we can just see the glow plug light work. So we're going to turn the ignition on. You can see that it's already on in here. And as soon as I turn the switch on, you're going to see that test light come on for a brief seconds. And you saw that in there. And it's working every single time. So again, there's nothing wrong in here. Anthony, you're going to have to check more in the car. This is definitely not the computer. All right, guys, thank you so much. See you next time. Bye-bye.